Skye Blue's bloody fight, women's blood and guts script. AEW just made history with the first ever women's blood and guts match, and Skye Blue getting busted open in the opening minutes has everyone asking the same question: did Tony Khan just elevate women's wrestling to a new level, or did he cross a line that should have never been crossed? And if you think I'm overreacting to seeing blood in a wrestling match, you clearly don't understand the weight of what just happened or the precedent this sets for every woman in that locker room. Blood and Guts 2025 opened with something we've never seen before: women stepping into the double cage for the most dangerous match in AEW's arsenal. This wasn't just another women's match getting a spot on the card. This was AEW making a statement. Their women's division deserves the same brutal, unforgiving spotlight that the men have had for years. And they proved that statement in the most visceral way possible, with Skye Blue's blood painting the canvas before the match even really got started. The cage lowers. The arena goes dark. The crowd's buzzing with anticipation because everyone knows what blood and guts means: violence, chaos, and moments that leave scars, both literal and figurative. Skye Blue makes her entrance, and you can see it on her face. She knows what she's signed up for. She knows this match is going to define her career one way or another. She's not backing down. She's walking toward that steel structure like a warrior heading into battle. Her opponent enters Willow Nightingale, a powerhouse who's been destroying everyone in her path. The size difference is immediately noticeable. Willow's got at least 50 pounds on Skye, maybe more. Willow's the kind of wrestler who doesn't need weapons to hurt you, she is the weapon. And now these two are locked in a cage together, with more competitors waiting to enter at timed intervals, and there's nowhere to run. Here's my first question: should women's wrestling include the same level of violence as men's wrestling, or should there be limits? Drop your honest take in the comments, because this debate is splitting the wrestling world right now. The bell rings. They circle each other. Willow strikes first with a brutal shoulder tackle that sends Skye crashing into the cage wall. The sound of body meeting steel echoes through the arena. Skye bounces off and hits the mat hard. She's up quickly, though she's not going to show weakness this early. They lock up again, and Willow uses her power advantage to throw Skye around like a ragdoll. Then comes the moment that changes everything. Willow whips Skye into the corner with devastating force. But Skye doesn't hit the turnbuckle, she goes face first into the exposed steel of the cage itself. The impact is sickening. Skye crumples to the mat, and when she looks up, there's blood. Not a trickle, a stream of crimson pouring from her forehead, running down her face, dripping onto her gear and the canvas below. The crowd gasps. Commentary team goes silent for a beat. The camera zooms in on Skye's face, now covered in red, and you can see the shock in her eyes. She touches her forehead, sees the blood on her fingers, and in that moment you watch her make a choice: she can ask for help, or she can keep fighting. She chooses to fight. This is less than 5 minutes into the match. Skye Blue is already bleeding heavily, and there are still multiple competitors who haven't even entered yet. The match is designed to go at least 20 more minutes. And Skye's going to have to wrestle through all of it with blood in her eyes, blood making everything slippery, blood serving as a constant reminder of the price she's paying for this historic moment. Willow doesn't let up. She sees the blood, and instead of showing mercy, she targets the wound. That's heel psychology 101. If your opponent is hurt, you make it worse. Willow rams Skye's head into the cage again. More blood flows. Skye's trying to defend herself, trying to create separation, but Willow's relentless. Every move Willow hits looks twice as brutal because of the blood, because we can see the physical toll this match is taking on Skye's body. Quick poll: is Skye Blue the toughest woman in AEW for continuing through this, or should the match have been stopped? Sound off below. Then Julia Hart's music hits the next entrant for Skye's team. Julia slides into the cage, and immediately the dynamic shifts. Now it's 2-on-1 against Willow, and Julia and Skye start working together. But Skye's still bleeding. She's wiping blood out of her eyes between moves. She's leaving red handprints on everything she touches. The visual is striking and disturbing in equal measure. Julia Hart brings a different energy to the match. Her character has always been dark and mysterious, with that haunted house vibe that makes her matches feel different from everyone else's. But now she's in blood and guts, and the darkness of her character is suddenly literal. She's helping Skye double-team Willow, using the cage as a weapon, and you can see Julia feeding off the chaos. But here's where things get complicated. Skye's clearly struggling. Blood loss affects you, it makes you tired, it affects your vision, it compromises your ability to perform. Wrestling while bleeding isn't just difficult, it's dangerous. And Skye's not just bleeding a little, she's bleeding a lot. Medical staff is standing by outside the cage, but they can't enter during the match without causing a stoppage that would ruin the stipulation. So Skye keeps going. She's hitting moves on Willow. She's using the cage. She's showing incredible toughness. But you can also see her fading. Each move takes a little more effort. Each time she gets hit, she's slower to get up. The blood isn't stopping, if anything, it seems to be flowing faster as the match continues and her heart rate stays elevated. Harley Cameron's music hits next, another competitor entering the fray. Harley comes in wielding a steel chair like a maniac, and suddenly the violence escalates to another level. She's not carefully placing chair shots, she's swinging for the fences. She cracks Skye across the back with a chair shot that makes everyone in the arena wince. Skye, already compromised from blood loss, takes the full impact and collapses. Now we've got 4 women in the cage: Skye, bleeding heavily, Julia, fighting to protect her partner, Willow, the powerhouse destroyer, and Harley, chaos incarnate with a steel chair. The match is complete pandemonium. Bodies flying into cage walls, chair shots echoing, and through it all, Skye Blue's blood-soaked face serving as the visual centerpiece of the entire spectacle. Real question: does seeing this level of violence in women's wrestling make you more or less interested in AEW's women's division? Be brutally honest in the comments. Let's talk about what this match represents for women's wrestling as a whole. For years, women have fought for equal opportunities, equal time, and equal respect in wrestling. They've proven repeatedly that they can deliver just as compelling matches as the men. But there's always been this question lurking: should women's wrestling include the same level of violence and hardcore elements as men's wrestling? Some people argue that true equality means women should have access to every stipulation, every match type, every opportunity that men have. Blood and Guts has historically been a men's match in AEW. Giving women their own blood and guts match is therefore a sign of respect and equality. It's AEW saying, we trust you to deliver in the most extreme environment we have. Others argue that violence shouldn't be the goal. That women's wrestling has evolved beyond needing blood and weapons to be taken seriously. That the women have proven their worth through technical excellence, storytelling, and emotional connection with audiences. That putting women in blood and guts is an elevation, it's asking them to sacrifice their bodies unnecessarily to prove a point that didn't need proving. Both perspectives have merit. And Skye Blue's blood-covered face is now the visual representation of this entire debate. Every person watching has to decide for themselves: is this progress or is this a step in the wrong direction? The match continues. More competitors enter at their timed intervals. The cage is now full of women beating the hell out of each other with chairs, with kendo sticks, with the cage itself. Bodies are being thrown. Heads are being slammed. And through it all, Skye Blue is still there, still fighting, her face a crimson mask that tells the story of her sacrifice better than any promo ever could. There's something both inspiring and disturbing about watching Skye continue. Inspiring because her toughness is undeniable. She's not taking the easy way out. She's not asking for the match to stop. She's fighting through pain and blood loss to complete the match and honor her commitment to making history. That's the warrior spirit that wrestling has always celebrated. But it's also disturbing because you start to wonder, is this necessary? Is Skye destroying her body for a match that, while historic, won't fundamentally change the trajectory of her career? Will people remember this match in 5 years, or will it be a forgotten footnote in wrestling history? And if it's the latter, was the blood worth it? Who do you think showed the most toughness in the women's blood and guts match? Drop your answer in the comments. The commentary team deserves credit for how they handled Skye's blood. They didn't ignore it or downplay it. They acknowledged the severity, they put over her toughness, but they also conveyed concern. That's the right balance, respecting the performer's sacrifice while not glorifying violence for violence's sake. Social media exploded during this match. Twitter was full of people posting screenshots of Skye's bloody face with captions like, "This is what a warrior looks like," and "Skye Blue just proved she belongs in the main event." The clips went viral, which is exactly what AEW wanted. They got their shocking visual, their social media moment, their proof that women's blood and guts could generate buzz. But there was also criticism. People questioning whether this was responsible. People pointing out that Skye is relatively young in her career and maybe shouldn't have been put in this position. People worried about the precedent this sets, that women now have to bleed to be taken seriously or to advance in AEW. The thing about blood and guts is it's designed to be the ultimate test. It's supposed to separate the tough from the toughest. It's meant to create moments that define careers. And for Skye Blue, this is definitely a defining moment. The question is, what does it define her as? A tough-as-nails warrior willing to sacrifice everything? Or a young wrestler who was put in over her head and paid the price? The answer probably depends on what happens next. If AEW follows up this match by giving Skye a significant push, if they use this as the launching pad for her to become a main event player, then the blood was an investment in her future. But if she's back to the mid-card next week with no acknowledgement of what she went through, then it was just exploitation. AEW has a spotty track record with follow-through. They're great at creating moments but not always great at building on them. Skye Blue gave them everything in blood and guts. Now AEW needs to give her something back: storylines that matter, TV time that's consistent, and opportunities that reflect her sacrifice. The finish of the match, which I won't detail blow by blow, was designed to feel chaotic and earned. Bodies everywhere, weapons scattered across the cage, and Skye Blue still there despite everything she'd been through. When the final pinfall happened and a winner was declared, the camera made sure to get a shot of Skye's face still covered in dried and fresh blood, exhausted, but standing. Should there be a rematch, or was one women's blood and guts match enough? Let me know your thoughts. Post-match, medical staff immediately attended to Skye. She needed stitches, that much was obvious. The cut on her forehead was deep and the blood loss was significant. But Skye walked out of the arena under her own power, which is important. She wasn't stretchered out. She wasn't carried out. She walked out as someone who survived blood and guts. The locker room reaction, according to reports, was mixed. Some wrestlers were in awe of the performance, praising everyone involved for their toughness and commitment. Others were concerned about the precedent, worried that now there's an expectation that women need to bleed in big matches to be considered tough enough. Tony Khan released a statement after the show praising the women for their historic performance and thanking them for their sacrifice. That's nice, but words are cheap. The real test is how AEW books these women going forward. Do they get the opportunities their blood and guts performance should have earned them? Or does AEW move on to the next shiny object while these women heal from their injuries? The women's wrestling community outside of AEW is watching closely. WWE's women's division has become the gold standard for consistent quality and storytelling. If AEW wants to compete, they can't just do one shocking match, they need to build on it with compelling long-term storylines. Skye Blue's blood is going to be used in every promotional video AEW makes about this match. It'll be in thumbnails, in highlight packages, in commercials. That image of her blood-soaked face is powerful marketing material. But it's also a person's real blood, real pain, and real risk. There's something uncomfortable about a company profiting off that image, even if the performer consented to everything. The ethics of hardcore wrestling are always complicated. On one hand, these are adults making informed decisions about their bodies and careers. They know the risks. They choose to take them. Who are we to say they shouldn't? On the other hand, there's a power imbalance. Wrestlers want opportunities and pushes. Companies control those opportunities. If wrestlers feel like they have to do dangerous spots to advance, is that really free choice? Rate the women's blood and guts match on a scale of 1 to 10. Drop your rating in the comments. The historical significance of this match can't be ignored. This was the first women's blood and guts match. That's a fact that will be in the record books forever. Skye Blue will forever be known as one of the women who bled in that historic first match. That's her legacy now, for better or worse. Will this match be looked back on as a landmark moment that elevated women's wrestling? Or will it be seen as an unnecessary risk that didn't lead anywhere? Only time will tell. History is written by what comes after, not just by what happens in the moment. What I know for certain is this: Skye Blue proved she's willing to sacrifice for her craft. She bled for AEW, for women's wrestling, and for her own career advancement. That sacrifice deserves respect, regardless of how anyone feels about the match itself. But sacrifice alone doesn't build a career. AEW needs to honor that sacrifice by giving Skye meaningful opportunities moving forward. They need to show that bleeding in blood and guts wasn't just for shock value, it was an investment in becoming a main event player. The women's wrestling debate continues. Should women have to bleed to be equal? Should violence be celebrated or minimized? Should companies like AEW push boundaries or play it safer? These questions don't have easy answers, and Skye Blue's blood-covered face is now the visual center of all these debates. Final question: will the women's blood and guts match be remembered as revolutionary or reckless? Share your prediction in the comments. Blood and Guts 2025 opened with chaos, and Skye Blue's blood set the tone for everything that followed. Whether that tone was heroic or horrific depends on your perspective. What's undeniable is that Skye gave everything she had, that she made history, and that her face covered in blood will be the lasting image of this match. AEW made a statement with this match. They showed they're willing to give women the same extreme stipulations as men. They showed they trust their women to deliver in the most brutal environment. And they created a moment that wrestling fans will be debating for years. Skye Blue's bloody fight at Blood and Guts wasn't just a match, it was a statement about women's wrestling, about equality, about sacrifice, and about how far performers are willing to go for their art. History was made. Blood was shed. And now we wait to see if AEW does anything meaningful with the opportunity these women created through their sacrifice. The cage has been raised. The blood has been cleaned up. But the conversation about what we witnessed and what it means is just beginning.